Hi, I'm Shep Wilson. I was going to give a presentation on the Fraser Building Capacity Program that I was site director on. After talking to our mayor-elect, he's advised me, as you would expect, that this schedule is tight, so I'm going to refer and just say that it is quite appropriate that we're here as neighborhoods coming together. I was going to talk about the Fraser neighborhoods, and neighborhoods is one of your priorities. My job now is to present our mayor-elect. I won't have a long introduction for you. I'll just be very brief and say that, Councilman Jim Strickland was elected to the City Council of Memphis in 2007, representing District 5, my district. He was re-elected in 2011 and is nearing completion of that term. He is a graduate of the University of Memphis and his law school. Prior to joining the law partner, David Kustoff, he also worked for Langler Brown Law Firm. He has served previously as an adjunct law professor at the University of Memphis. He and his wife have 2 children. He won an overwhelming election this past October 8th to be the next mayor of Memphis. He will be sworn in on January 1st at noon at the Cannon Center. The public is invited. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our mayor-elect.
Thank you so much for having me here. She's probably already been introduced, but I want to recognize my cohort on the council, Wanda Howard. I've enjoyed working with Wanda for 8 years. I just got back from new mayor school at Harvard in Boston, so I now have something in common with Shep. We both have Ivy League degrees. His was earned over a period of 4 weeks. I did 4 days. But that's not bad for a Memphis State grad like me. I have the same concerns that you do about this city, I believe. And I summarize those in the campaign as 3 things. Number 1, drastically reduce crime.
Amen.
Number 2, clean up the blight and the litter and do the basics of government like paving streets. And number 3, measure results and have me as mayor hold city officials accountable for their work. Because I know in 4 years, you folks are going to hold me accountable. So accountability is important. It all revolves around service. Yes, Friday afternoon, my wife and I stayed late from the conference because we wanted to go through the Kennedy Museum. President Kennedy is really one of the reasons I got involved in politics, although he'd been killed before I was even born. In 1976, I was 12 years old. There was a presidential election going on. And so I got kind of interested. At 12 years old, you kind of know what's going on. And that's the election that Jimmy Carter got elected, just to put it in reference. So I started thinking, I'm a Catholic. Had there ever been a Catholic president? And the answer is still the same as it was in 76. There had been one, and that was, of course, President Kennedy. So I started reading about him and really became inspired by his words and his deeds and decided to get involved in politics. One of those famous speeches in his inauguration was a line, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And if you think about that message, it's very similar to a message that's in the Bible, which is to serve others. So it became very clear to me that public service and my Christian faith went hand in hand, all revolved around service. And that's what city government does for you. The police officer over here serves you. When we pick up the garbage and we pick up the litter, that is a service to you. City government doesn't make a product. We don't sell it at the grocery store. We serve you. And I think that's a calling, an honorable calling. And I'm so happy and thrilled and proud that this city elected me as mayor, and I'm really excited about starting January 1st so I can even broaden the service that I've given the community. I want to focus on one specific area and then take whatever comments or questions you have, and that's workforce development. It was mentioned by a couple speakers up here before me. Words to the effect of, we have to have jobs for young people. Memphis unfortunately leads the nation in the percent of young people between the ages of 18 and 24 who don't have a job and who are not in school. And I always say, if Jim Strickland were 20 years old and I didn't have a job and I wasn't in school, I might stray from the straight and narrow every once in a while. And that's what's happening. Thanks to Representative Cooper, Representative Akbari, is she still here? And Governor Haslam and the state legislature, we have a great program called Drive to 55. And if y'all already talked about it today, I apologize. The Tennessee College of Applied Technology, TCAT. I'm going to be like Representative Cooper. How many people have heard of TCAT?
I work there.
You work there? All right. Well, you probably could give this speech better than I did. But thanks to these legislators and the governor, tuition is free. Correct?
Correct.
Free tuition. So if you know a young person who has a college degree or GED and wants to not go to a four-year college, but you can get a degree in 12 to 18 months, a college degree. And I'm going to give you an example, and correct me if I'm wrong. Airport mechanics. You can go get a degree in airport mechanics, which I think takes 18 months.
Correct.
You can start off at this airport working for FedEx. After 18 months, making $56,000 a year. After 5 years, you can be making $120,000. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So if you're 18, 19 years old, and you want a good paying job, go to this school. In 18 months, you can start off after 18 months making $56,000, and you progress, you can be making $120,000 a year. My hunch is, and I'm not unusual, I did not know about this specific program until after I got elected. My hunch is most of the people in this room did not know about that. And that's one problem I'm going to try to solve. We need to go, you know people, young people in your mind right now, you're thinking of young people who could qualify for that program. The school is down here, not far from St. Jude on what street?
Alabama.
Alabama. Not far from St. Jude, just right down the corner, around the corner from St. Jude. Tuition is free. The road to opportunity is there. We just got to put more people out there. We want to put so many people going to school out there that they expand. That's our goal. But I want to thank Representative Cooper, all the state legislators for making that happen. Let's give them a round of applause. So I'll take any questions, comments, criticisms, if you keep those to a minimum. Yes, sir.
Speak up, Bigler.
Notice through the campaign, you were favorable. Okay. During the campaign, you were favorable, of course, to the TIF program. One of the news is, you know, in the downtown area, there are a lot of economic development corporations here, and we would like to use the TIF program for infrastructure and some of the other aspects of community economic development.
All right. TIFs, tax increment financing, is a state law that any city in the state can use to try to encourage development. The best example I can give you is one that I think occurred in Nashville, where a business wanted to be created and they needed some place for parking. So they got a TIF approved. They issued the bonds and built a garage. The great thing about it is you don't have to spend tax dollars out of the city's budget to pay for that garage. The tax dollars generated at that business and at that garage pay for the garage. So companies come in and say they want to build a new business somewhere. They apply for a TIF. The tax dollars generated at that new business, which hopefully is going to do well, pays for that improvement. It's Chicago's used it a lot, Nashville's used it a lot, other cities in Tennessee have used it. We've not really used it much in Tennessee, and the talk is to try to use that more. But the one thing I want to leave with you is that the taxes generated at the site pay for it. It's not taking money away from police or fire or any infrastructure.
In my neighborhood, so many of the housing has been torn down in the community. And so I just want to know how will the issue be addressed on how the land will be taken care of and who will receive it. And I understand that they have a program right now where if you take care of the land, they go to yours, you have to pay the taxes. But my thing is like the vacant lots, we have so many in the southwest area of Memphis, and I'm just wondering how we're gonna deal with that.
There's no one magic answer to these vacant lots. It's an array of things, and Councilman Berlin Boyd, I don't know if he's here, but he got us to pass the mow to own program, which is what you talked about. Pay the taxes over time, you can own. We want that property back in private ownership as fast as they can. So it's better maintained, it's on the tax rolls and so forth. There's two things that I'm going to ask the state legislature for help on those properties. Number one, it takes too long for the city or the county to take a piece of property for failure to pay taxes. By law, it takes about 5 years. We need to reduce that because 5 years of a blighted piece of property on your street is way too long. We need to shorten that amount of time. There's been some talk, that's going to be a big push of mine in the state legislature. Secondly, I want to adopt what Cleveland, Ohio did. That if somebody renovated a blighted piece of property and lived in it themselves, they would get a tax benefit. We use tax incentives to bring businesses to the city. In my mind, we need to use tax incentives to bring people back into the inner city. You mentioned Southeast Memphis, Frazier, other areas. In Cleveland, Ohio, if you do that, if you move into the property yourself and get it back up to code, you don't pay taxes for 10 years. Now, I'm not saying it should be 10 years, it might be 5 years. But somehow we have to incentivize people to move back in the city. We're losing population in the city, which to me is the number one long-term challenge for Memphis. Because no city survives long-term if you continually lose population. We got to get people back in the inner city, and those are some of the ideas. Also, I want to, on blight, this kind of, it talks a little bit out here. New Orleans has what they call blight stat, S-T-A-T, where they measure all the blighted pieces of property in the city and where it is in the process. Has code enforcement issued us a correct order? Has it gone to court? Where is it in the court process? And they measure where it is. It's a great tool to provide the public on where we are on blighted property, but it also is a good tool for the administration to use to hold officials accountable who are in code enforcement. One last thing, I helped create a reserve code enforcement officer position where people could volunteer and work with code enforcement to help clean up their neighborhood. Throughout this campaign, I've heard that that's not working very well. I'm getting a shake of nods of head here. As mayor, I'll have the final say on that. People can volunteer, be trained by the professionals, and help identify the properties. If it's properly administered, I think it could really help clean up this city. And I hear this over and over that people who volunteer for the program are not benefiting.
Where would the money come from? You know, like in the neighborhoods I'm in, like the houses ranging from $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. But by the time you go in here and they selling the house for $30,000, and you got to put $30,000 in it, and no bank will touch that. You know, they're saying that we out of reach. You know, and dealing with that. So if the city could figure out ways of generating funds or helping people to generate funds to put back in this property so that people that live in that area can afford it, then it might be better.
Candidates for brownfield money?
I don't know the answer to that. Let me go back to this question. In the last year, I've met with Judge Potter over environmental court, and we knocked around but never funded it because we didn't have the money. I'd like to create a fund because so many people are brought in environmental court, let's just say for a roof. They've lived there all their life. Their roof needs to be replaced. They don't have the money to repair their roof. We thought about creating a fund that the judge would supervise. And the homeowner pay half, this fund pay half, and the judge approved the work before the payment is made. Because there was one prior city home improvement program where some of the workers did not do adequate work and they got money and they left with the money. If you run it through the court, the judge said he would work and make sure that work is approved before the contractor is paid. It's just a problem of coming up with the money to do that. I don't know who had their hand up first. Oh, you got the microphone. I'll let you decide.
I'm a living man, and I work in the city of Memphis. I heard this young man back here, Terrence, mention Fraser. You all talk about Fraser. What about Hyde Park, New Chicago, Douglas? You hardly said anything, but that's probably anything. We got black out there as well. Then I'm very lucky. You know, I know you don't city council. I got another person to do it. I'm going to do it too. Why is it that we don't have no representation in, like I said, New Chicago, Hyde Park, and Douglas? Y'all keep hollering about Fraser. We can't have so much to put in Hyde Park. I mean, it's right there. Now, I work all over the city, man. So what I'm seeing is not what I heard, it's what I see. It's favoritism in the communities. I know what I'm saying. It's favoritism all over the city. It's favoritism in the garbage. It's favoritism in the neighborhood. So we need to have something, done about that. I'm glad for you, as far as having this blast off, it's not, because we never get a chance to talk to the city council. We have been trying. I'm a sanitation worker, been almost 26 years. I want to know why you was on city council. Just wondering why aren't we getting this $1,000 supplement money? We don't have no pension. It's a third of us ready to go home. At 6, 8, I've been 6, 8 years old, 2 to 6 years old. I'm ready to go. I'm not able because of the insurance. And I ain't gonna tell you about this time. But my 2 points is this $1,000 in New Chicago, Hyde Park. All right, thank you.
I heard this all throughout the campaign, whether you're from Hickory Hill, Whitehaven, Westwood, Cordova, Fraser, Raleigh, or New Chicago. I heard this everywhere. Every one I just mentioned feels like they're being ignored by city government. Every single one of them. I remember in Cordova I had a meeting and they said, "What are you going to do for Cordova?" I said, "Nothing special that I don't do for everyone else." I just mentioned Fraser as an example. The programs that I mentioned would apply citywide to any area. There's no area in this city that's more important than the other. So I'm all for equal treatment. But please be assured that everyone in this city, everyone in this room, and a lot of people in this city probably don't feel that city government pays attention to them. Your second question was $1,000. I didn't know what that was about.
You was on where you said you could be married January 1st, but you was on city council when this other administration voted to give us $1,000 supplement money since we do not have a pension. And in sanitation problem, we do not have a pension. I will be able to go out on Social Street. You voted, I assume you did. You voted on your something. Y'all voted on it. So now that you coming in, I hope and pray to God that this administration will be much honest, fair, and righteous than this one that's going out. Thank God it's going.
Well, it's my understanding that issue, they're working very hard to resolve it before December 31st, before I take office. If not, then we'll address it then. But my understanding is they're working very hard with the union to resolve that before December 31st. Whoever's got the microphones will be in charge of. Oh.
Sorry, thank you. I would just like to ask a question. I've been hearing people talk about grants. I'm from Boxtown. We need to know if there are a grant for Boxtown, not Whitehaven. I'm not a Whitehaven resident. I've been living in Foxborough now 40-some years. A lot of elderly people, they, spent their lives giving their homes and everything. So now what we need is a grant to help out with the homes out of that area. A lot of them, it's a lot of blight, a lot of vacant houses, and our young children have to go to school. They walk in that area where abandoned houses are, and it's sort of dangerous. And we need to know when you all come in January, can you all get a grant for Boxtown community? And the next person, we have a lot of dump trucks coming out of that area. They can't allow the street. Swanee Road, down from New Park Cemetery. I mean, the trucks be coming like that. I have to go, in order to get grant off the road. And this is sort of sad because, as I stated, we have young people going to school early in the morning. And matter of fact, when I was getting ready for church this morning, I saw dumper trucks going down my Swanee, dumping. And that's not fair to the community. So please look at Boxtown community. I might have this year's Boxtown community for these grants and Boxtown. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As far as I know, there's no grants going to Whitehaven or anywhere. Shep can tell you a little bit. They got a federal grant to organize the Fraser Neighborhood, I forgot the name, council. And the federal money ran out. The city didn't have the money to continue it. So it's not like the city is giving grants to all these other neighborhoods. The grant program that I mentioned about trying to fix roofs and so forth, if we can come up with the money, would apply citywide to every blighted neighborhood. Let me give you a 2-minute summary of the city finances. The city's budget is roughly $650 million. Employees, workers, constitute 2/3 of that money. 2 years ago, the state legislature passed a law saying that all cities in Tennessee have to fully fund their yearly pension cost. The city was putting in $20 million a year for the city pension program. After that law was passed, it was determined that we had to put $75 million a year into the pension. So that's a difference of $55 million out of a $650 million budget. That's a pretty big percent. So the city had to come up with $55 million just to fully fund the pension. We pushed that up to about $50 million. So we have another $25 million to go. So and at the same time, I think it's pretty apparent to most people, it is to me, that we need to pay our firefighters and police officers more to retain and recruit new ones. So we have to put money into our pension system and give police and firefighters more money. That's holes that we've got to come out. So the bottom line is there's not a lot of extra money. There's no extra money around City Hall to do some of these things. We're going to have to be creative in how we do that, either going to the state or the federal government or private foundations and asking for extra money. But I just want to kind of let you know that since I can't sit here and promise you, oh yeah, Boxtown's going to get X number of dollars, it all's against this backdrop of, frankly, a financial crisis the city is under, much of which was created because our city is losing population and we have fewer taxpayers. One thing I learned up in Boston talking to these other mayors, I knew this, but we're one of the few cities that doesn't have an income tax or a payroll tax. Ms. Halbert will echo this. We have 80,000 people who work in Memphis but don't live in Memphis. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't have a payroll tax, which other cities have. We can't put up, what are the toll roads. You notice there's no toll roads in Tennessee. So we can't do that. Our taxes rely on people who own property in Memphis, and who spend money in Memphis and pay sales tax. So if we have fewer people in Memphis, that's fewer taxpayers. So this, and we can get in more detail on it, but that's kind of an overall summary of the financial problem, and it is a real problem for city government. Commissioner.
Good evening. First, I want to address what the lady said. As a Fraser resident, I feel your pain, but when you say people, everybody's talking about Fraser, that's all they're doing. Because as a resident, we're not getting what we deserve either. As the previous vice president of the Fraser Neighborhood Council, we collectively as a community got together and we created a Fraser 2020 plan. And we were told to get it together and it would be implemented. Well, we were lied to. The community came together and did this. So I believe the inner city as a whole has been neglected. And I'm willing to work with you. And I know Mr. Shep is willing to work with you to get your community galvanized like we did. So we can collectively go to the city council and say, what about us?
Thank you.
Now to you, Mary Elect Jim Strickland. You spoke about the youth between the ages of 18 and 24 who are without a job or not in school. In the Fraser community, 90 is there. We have a CT program, Dresden Go Tech. We have been trying for 2 years to have a conversation with Nike. We have 18-year-olds, 17 to 18-year-olds who are on their way now to get a forklift license. Nike won't even have a conversation with us. So as the new mayor, are you willing to work with me to make sure that we can change the status quo of saying so many of our 18 and 24-year-olds are without a job or not in school?
Yes, I can guarantee we'll have that conversation. Now, what their response is, we'll work with them. But yet, the first step is we'll get that conversation going. Yes, ma'am.
You
want to say something?
No, you go ahead and then them street of hands and not.
Okay, there are four people here already asked for the mic.
Go ahead. You're in charge, go ahead.
Right, wait, so you'll be number 9.
Okay.
My question is related to child care. Child care is in a crisis. We don't have a plan on the local level to address the issue of child care. Child care is not looked at as a provider of jobs, nor is it looked at as having an impact on the economy. I have here a study that was done by PhD Dr. Sherelle Chang and PhD Dennis Wilson for the Memphis, the Obama Center for Health Economics, the Gordon College of Business and Economics, and the University of Memphis. What this study showed is the impact that child care have on the economy and jobs. In its heyday, when this study was put together, child care impact jobs by employing 10,773, providing 10,733 jobs. The related jobs from that was 1,380. The economy receives $639 million from child care.
Mayor told me he had to leave, go to church. You got about 10 more minutes.
What I wanted to know
Ask the question.
was that, are you going to look at this differently and sit down and put a help child care with a plan together to continue to have this as an influence on the economy and jobs?
Yeah, I want to broaden that. Number one, I think we need to pay attention more to small businesses, which would include child care, But I think all small businesses need more attention from local government, so that would include that. Secondly, with respect to that, I would broaden that scope of discussion when you're talking about childcare. The commissioner can probably correct me, but I believe roughly 27 to 30% of third graders read at third grade level. To me, that's an astonishing and disappointing figure. That needs to drastically improve. And to me, that should be the focus when we're talking about young people, ages 1 to 5. Get them to read. Because if in third grade you can read, then in fourth grade and fifth grade, you can read to learn and know your English and your history and your math. I think Representative Cooper, as a former teacher, could talk about the importance of reading. I mean, that's fun. I always heard the number was 27%. And if I could change one statistic with the wave of my hand, I'd change that 27 into 72. Think about how much better Memphis would be if 72% of third graders could read at third grade level.
Absolutely.
It would dramatically improve Memphis.
Yep. All right. I have been asked to decide that we have time for 2 more questions. Yes. The mayor has.
Yeah, but if you promise me you're gonna ask the question,
Yeah. You know what
they can answer it.
Question.
And not, let it hang. I mean, because I want you to be able to talk, this is what it's about.
Excuse me.
I just got one question.
These 2 people already asked prior to all of this finalization.
Okay. And
You
then
want
we're
to narrow
gonna,
down the
we're
local
gonna take a little more than 2 more things, because I want them to talk.
We do it that way. How you want to do it?
2 over here, 3 over here.
2 or 3 years.
We got that first.
Who is it? Mr. Houston? Yes, go ahead. Hold up now, we're gonna try to do this so everybody get a chance to get their question in.
Let me go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I'll be sure. Order 5477. It had to do with blighted, abandoned, just
Put it to
out,
your
just
mouth.
left.
Up to the mic.
And it was passed in 2013. Ever for sign off on 4, 16, and 13.
Go to your question, please.
What is, when that this order is going to be put into action, where the city can get revenue off of it?
I don't know the ordinances by number. What's
It
that?
has to do with blighted, abandoned, and broken down property that they have to be registered, they will be fined.
The property registration thing, I think it is in effect, but to me, that was a wasted effort. Because every property in Memphis is registered with the Shelby County Registrar's Office. You want to look up an owner of a piece of property, you can do it online or go to the Shelby County Registrar's Office. You will find the owner. Registering is not the problem, it's cleaning up that's the problem.
But you're not fined.
That I don't know. That's an administrative act, and I don't know what they've done on that.
Listen, Houston, we'll follow up on that, just write it down and we'll follow up to
Yes.
get your answer back to you. Is that 2 or 3 over there, Linda?
Hey, my question is, we talked about blight and heavily involved. And the question is that, what about those people who own property live here? That's the question I have. How do you deal with that?
That makes it the tougher thing. If they're not paying taxes, we need to take that property away from them as soon as we possibly can. If they are paying taxes and it continues to be blighted, there's a legal procedure to have Judge Potter take the property away. We need to take the property away from them as quickly as possible, either for failure to pay taxes or leaving a blighted piece of property.
Excuse me, here.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, how are you? John Cohen, Director of Trade Council. Thank you for your state champions, go Bears. Number 1, where do we stand with the Area Tropics project? And number two, is there a certain minimum level of minority participation that's going to be expected to receive benefits on the air traffic project? I'm not sure if everyone knows what that is.
The question was of the Aerotropolis program, which is a development around the airport. I can't tell you what the status of it is right now. But the second question is, the second question is minority participation. Let me talk about that in general as opposed to Aerotropolis. Right now, the minority and women participation in city contracts is measured. Last time it was measured, it was about 13% if you take black and women together. If you pull out, I think it's about 7% black, 6% woman. It will be higher than that. Because what we're going to do is we're going to change up the way the whole program is done. Right now you have 3 city agencies that deal with that. We're going to combine them into one. In fact, I'm going to that's one of the areas my transition team is studying. Wednesday, I'm going to hear the full report. My preview was that they're going to want to combine all those programs, put one person in charge, and implement the recommendations that our evaluation committee has been making for 2 years. For instance, pay your bills on time. I'm an owner of a small business. Most of these businesses we're talking about are small. They can't survive when it takes 90, 120 days to pay your bills. We need to pay those bills within 30 to 60 days. Because some of the small businesses won't even participate because they don't get their bills in time. We need more minority and women-owned businesses in the program. The number of businesses that qualify has drastically reduced. But bottom line, we're going to make those changes. I'm going to put one person in charge. If that number stays at 13%, we're going to find somebody else to run the program.
This will be the last question that the mayor will answer directly. However, we will continue to entertain your questions. We will get them to the mayor so that you can give the answer later. This will be the last question. He will answer directly to the president.
Okay.
I'm president of Critical County. We need 12 to introduce us to Bass Pro because we on the same level. Everybody knows wild hounds, everything is reserved. And we also need to got a run food.
We got what?
Run food. For the kids, we need more kids now.
Okay, the first question was Bass Pro, introduction of Bass Pro. I haven't even met with Bass Pro yet, but I will soon. So I'll make that one of the topics. What I'm going to ask you to do, I don't have staff yet because I'm not in office yet. Nobody's making money working for me yet. So what I'd ask you to do is either email me now at jim.strickland@memphistn.gov, which is on the city council website, or wait till January 1 and call my office. After January 1, I'll have a staff member here who will take all this information. But I just don't have, they've got other jobs. They can't work for me for free yet. So these things won't fall through the cracks. So what I'd ask you to do is either email me now or wait till January 1st to call me. But I'm supposed to meet with Bass Pro over the next 2 to 4 weeks, and that definitely could be one of the topics. And young people is going to be one of the biggest things I'm involved with.
Amen.
I've appointed a teacher, Ike Griffith. I don't know if you know Ike.
Very good man.
He's going to be our special assistant on youth. Youth is so important, not only because the 18 to 24 number we just talked about, and the 27% of young people who at third grade can't read in third grade. We have to do more to intervene in the lives of these young people and give them something productive to do. When they're not in school, they need something productive to do, and that's going to be a big emphasis for me. So one last thing, if you want to call Ike directly, you can. But trust, he's not getting paid for this till January 1. Yes, sir.
We are everybody know what come out.
Put the mic up.
Come on out.
Something about wetlands.
Wetlands. You're
You're welcoming people to come down. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I have to be at a church at 6 o'clock because I need all the prayer I can get. So, I don't know, I can't sit here and promise you that I'm going to solve all these problems in the first year. What I can promise you is I'll be responsive, I'll be honest with you, and I'll work hard. And in the long run, we'll make all these problems better. So I appreciate your prayers, and I appreciate your patience, but I also want you to hold me accountable too. Thank you so much.
If you have a question for the mayor that we were not able to get to, as you fill out your registration evaluation form, there is at the bottom a comment section. If you will put on the comment section the question and get it back to anyone who's collecting the registration form, we will make sure that it gets to the mayor. That is our commitment to you.
Before you leave now, make sure you fill out that registration form on the front. If your name is not on the back of it, and you want to have time to help us out, add your name. But please don't leave without it. Stand at the door, officers there, don't let them go out if you didn't have their form.
Let me briefly share something with you, because the young lady from, I believe it was,
hold on, we're gonna let you out short. Now listen to this.
Those who were from Hyde Park and other areas. Let me make this point. What we were able to do in Fraser was indeed based upon a federal grant. Fraser was one of 8 neighborhoods that was selected nationally to participate in the program through President Obama's Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. But part of what we learned through that process is how to help others do what we did and to come together so that we can all go to our mayor and say these are the kinds of concerns that we jointly have. All of us have similar concerns. All of us have similar problems. And one of the simple ways that we can address it, which came out of our program in Fraser, was very simply this: organize your neighborhood. Structure your neighborhood in some kind of organization. Create a plan for your neighborhood based upon the concerns that you in your neighborhood have for yourselves. And then come together and present them to those who have the resources who can make it happen. What we did was based upon something they did in Los Angeles called Empower LA. I challenge all of you, Google it, go to Empower LA, but basically the city of Los Angeles developed 95 neighborhood councils, and they came into existence because those councils, like us, didn't feel like the city were paying them enough attention and threatened to secede from the city of Los Angeles. They came together and said, what do you all want in order not to leave Los Angeles? They said, we want the right to decide what happens in our neighborhoods and to plan for ourselves, to act for ourselves, and to be our own voice over what happens in the neighborhood. So what I'm suggesting is that we all can do that. We received help from the federal government to do it in Fraser, but we can all do that together. And I'm standing here to say I'll be happy to work with anybody who wants to move that process forward in your neighborhood. Some of you I'm already working with. It is not something that requires resources now, per se, but it is something that if you unite and have a common voice, you can make happen. The ultimate in Los Angeles was they have something called the Council of Neighborhood Councils, a Congress of Neighborhood Councils. 95 neighborhood councils come together and take an agenda to the city government and say, this is what we, all the neighborhoods, want. They come together and work in that. So if we can begin to do that within our own neighborhoods, then there shouldn't be this competition for resources. We can all go in unison together to get the resources we need, and we can stop some of this us against them, because we all are getting short-shafted.
Okay, well, that's so thank you. And Representative Cook, I thank you for having this blast out.
Yes, ma'am.
I really do appreciate you having this blast out. Because like I stated, when we go to city council, we do not be heard, we can stay there all day long from 3 to 11, and don't get it.
Let me just say this. This is one of the reasons why we don't fire up on this week. We're not going home. We're not going home. And I know those people are nice to talk.
Listen, everybody listen,
We're not
please.
listening.
Everybody listen.
Following the meeting, and we're gonna let you know and hear from you on what it is, and we're gonna do a report. We're gonna have a task force to meet with the mayor and his staff, so that we can start moving this and improving our community. And looking at what it is that you asked for today. So you make sure when we call you, come to another meeting, you call. So you can help us, and we'll be calling on you, okay? So we're gonna leave and all, everybody stand. Our minister, just a moment. Our minister's left. Reverend, who's gonna dismiss us? Come on, Mr. Let me give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. I love all of you. You've been great. And we're going to dismiss right now so you talk.
Okay. Let's bow our head for a minute, please. Eternal God, we just want to give you thanks for this day. Thanking you for each and every day of our life and the breath of life that's in us. Father, we ask you to bless all those that is here and ask them to just give comfort, encourage, and strengthen them. We just look to you for all our needs. We ask you to forgive us for all our transgressions and ask our blessings to be upon all of us. So we ask in Jesus' name, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. And again, thank you. Thank you. Be careful.